Desertification is one of the greatest environmental challenges facing our planet today. The process is insidious, gradually transforming fertile land into barren wastelands. This phenomenon threatens ecosystems, food security, and the livelihoods of millions. But there's hope. With the right strategies, we can reverse the damage. In this script, we'll explore the critical steps to fight desertification and restore land. First, it's important to understand how desertification starts and what causes it. The main culprit is unsustainable land management practices, such as overgrazing. Deforestation, poor agricultural techniques, and urban expansion further exacerbate the problem. These actions remove the protective vegetation cover, leaving soil vulnerable to erosion. As soil erodes, it loses its fertility, making it harder for plants to grow. This creates a vicious cycle that accelerates the spread of desertification. In some regions, desertification has advanced so far that the land is unrecognizable. Once fertile fields become barren deserts, agricultural production becomes nearly impossible. But the consequences of desertification go beyond just the loss of crops. It leads to water scarcity, reduced biodiversity, and displacement of communities. In fact, desertification is a major driver of poverty and social instability. The good news is that combating desertification is not an impossible task. By employing restoration techniques, we can rehabilitate degraded lands and restore ecosystems. The first step is implementing sustainable land management practices to protect soil. This includes measures like reducing overgrazing, reforesting areas, and adopting conservation tillage. Conservation tillage helps maintain soil structure and prevents erosion by keeping vegetation in place. But simply halting harmful practices isn't enough. We need active restoration strategies. This brings us to the concept of land rehabilitation, actively restoring ecosystems. One effective approach is the use of agroforestry, which integrates trees into agricultural land. Agroforestry helps combat desertification by improving soil health and reducing erosion. Additionally, planting trees can help restore the water cycle and provide shade. Trees act as windbreaks, preventing soil from being blown away by strong winds. Moreover, trees absorb carbon dioxide, which mitigates climate change and a factor in desertification. Another approach to land restoration is the practice of water harvesting. This technique involves collecting and storing water in dry regions for irrigation. Water harvesting can significantly increase the availability of water for crops, even in arid areas. It's essential to create small reservoirs or trenches to capture rainwater efficiently. When done correctly, water harvesting can transform seemingly dry land into productive soil. Another important practice is the use of cover crops and mulching. These techniques help protect the soil from wind and water erosion while improving its fertility. Cover crops also fix nitrogen in the soil, enriching it and promoting healthier crops. However, not all desertification-prone areas are suitable for agriculture. In some cases, restoring degraded land may require reintroducing natural vegetation. This is where ecosystem-based restoration comes in, focusing on restoring natural habitats. By replanting native vegetation and protecting natural ecosystems, we restore biodiversity. Reforestation projects, which focus on planting trees, are a major part of this approach. The key is selecting the right species of trees that are adapted to the local environment. Successful restoration depends on choosing the right plant species that can thrive in harsh conditions. These trees help build soil, increase water retention, and provide food and shelter. But it's not just about planting trees, it's about community involvement. Local communities must be at the forefront of land restoration efforts. Empowering farmers, pastoralists, and local residents to take action is critical. This means providing education on sustainable land practices and supporting local economies. With community involvement, restoration projects become more sustainable and effective. It's also essential to invest in research to develop new, innovative restoration techniques. For example, scientists are exploring the potential of bioengineering to enhance soil fertility. These technologies could play a crucial role in fighting desertification in the future. Another cutting-edge solution involves using drones to plant trees and monitor land. Drones can quickly and efficiently plant seeds in remote or hard-to-reach areas. These technologies not only make restoration more efficient, but also scalable. Scaling up restoration efforts is vital to combat desertification on a global scale. Governments and international organizations must also play an active role in funding. Desertification, though a global issue, affects some regions more than others. Areas with low rainfall, poor soil, and intense human activity are especially vulnerable. The Sahel region in Africa, for example, has seen vast swaths of land become desert. Climate change exacerbates the problem, making it harder for land to recover. Rising temperatures and altered rainfall patterns leave many areas in a state of crisis. In such regions, the first step in restoration is to halt further damage. This means reducing deforestation, cutting down on the use of harmful chemicals, and slowing urban sprawl. Alongside these efforts, restoration projects must focus on soil rehabilitation. Soil is the foundation of any ecosystem. Without it, nothing can thrive. One technique to restore soil is through the practice of terracing. Terracing involves creating stepped levels on hilly terrain to prevent water runoff. It helps reduce erosion and provides a platform for crops to grow in arid regions. These terraces can also be used to plant grass, shrubs, and trees, which stabilize the soil. Another technique for improving soil quality is the use of organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers, such as compost or manure, add essential nutrients to the soil. Unlike chemical fertilizers, organic fertilizers do not degrade the soil over time. The use of organic farming practices can transform degraded land into productive fields. In dry regions, mulching can also play a vital role in protecting soil health. Mulch helps to retain moisture, reduce soil temperature, and prevent weed growth. This simple technique can make a big difference in arid environments. In some areas, plants known for their drought tolerance, like succulents, are used for restoration. These plants are ideal for arid environments and help protect the soil from wind erosion. Another practice in desertification control is called sand dune stabilization. Sand dunes move with the wind, but stabilizing them can prevent them from encroaching on land. Planting grasses and shrubs on dunes can anchor them, reducing the risk of desert expansion. One interesting method of sand dune stabilization involves using a plant called atriplex, or saltbush. This plant thrives in salty, dry conditions, making it perfect for desert reclamation. It helps prevent further desertification while improving soil fertility. In many arid regions, controlling water usage is essential to prevent desertification. Using efficient irrigation techniques like drip irrigation ensures that water is used wisely. Drip irrigation delivers water directly to the plant's roots, reducing water wastage. This method also reduces the chances of overwatering, which can lead to soil erosion. Another important practice is to reduce the harmful impact of grazing. Grazing animals, if not controlled, can destroy vegetation and compact the soil. Controlled grazing, however, allows vegetation to recover and prevents soil degradation. One way to manage grazing is through rotational grazing, which involves moving livestock between areas. This gives pastures time to recover and regenerate, reducing overgrazing in one area. Another emerging practice in land restoration is the use of biochar. Biochar is a form of charcoal made from organic materials that enriches the soil. It helps retain nutrients and water in the soil, making it more fertile and productive. This method is particularly useful in areas where soil fertility is severely depleted. Another step in the restoration process is the reintroduction of wildlife. Reintroducing native species, such as insects, birds, and small mammals, helps restore ecosystems. These animals contribute to pollination, pest control, and seed dispersal, which benefits the soil. By rebuilding natural ecosystems, we encourage biodiversity and strengthen the resilience of the land. Community-based restoration efforts are also critical to success. In many regions, local communities have the knowledge and skills to restore land effectively. They understand the land's needs and the challenges it faces, making their involvement crucial. Involving local communities in decision-making ensures that restoration efforts are sustainable. It also creates a sense of ownership, motivating people to care for and protect the land. The success of restoration projects depends on cooperation between governments, NGOs, and local communities. Public-private partnerships have proven to be highly effective in funding restoration efforts. Governments can create policies that incentivize land restoration, such as subsidies for sustainable practices. NGOs play a crucial role by providing expertise, funding, and resources for restoration projects. International cooperation is also essential, especially when addressing large-scale desertification. The United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, UNCCD, has been at the forefront of global efforts. One of their main goals is to combat desertification and restore DEG. As the battle against desertification intensifies, innovative approaches continue to emerge. One such method is using mycorrhizal fungi, a natural solution to improve soil health. These fungi form a symbiotic relationship with plants, improving their nutrient uptake. By enhancing plant growth, mycorrhizal fungi can help restore degraded lands more quickly. This technique has shown promise in both agricultural and arid regions suffering from desertification. In many parts of the world, desertification has advanced to such an extent that solutions seem out of reach. But hope is not lost. Restoration efforts are gaining momentum across the globe. One of the most promising methods involves the restoration of wetlands. Wetlands play a crucial role in fighting desertification by filtering water and preventing erosion. They act as natural sponges, absorbing excess water and releasing it slowly during dry periods. By reintroducing wetlands into areas affected by desertification, we can enhance the local water cycle. In some regions, restoring wetlands has been shown to increase agricultural yields. This is because wetlands help regulate water flow, prevent droughts, and improve soil fertility. The key to wetland restoration is finding the right balance between water and soil. When done correctly, wetland restoration not only combats desertification, but also boosts biodiversity. Another approach in land restoration focuses on reintroducing permaculture techniques. Permaculture is a holistic system that emphasizes sustainability and harmony with nature. It combines elements of agriculture, forestry, and water management to create productive ecosystems. By mimicking natural processes, permaculture encourages soil regeneration and reduces environmental impact. In desertified areas, permaculture can bring long-term sustainability by revitalizing ecosystems. One permaculture practice gaining attention is water-efficient farming. This method focuses on using less water while increasing crop yields in dry environments. Techniques like contour farming and swales, which trap water and distribute it evenly, are especially useful. These methods can help regenerate degraded land while conserving water resources. By combining sustainable farming practices with ecological restoration, we can create thriving ecosystems. However, not all restoration methods require human intervention. Some regions are taking a more hands-off approach, allowing natural processes to restore the land. Known as natural regeneration, this approach involves letting ecosystems recover without direct planting. By removing invasive species and controlling grazing, native plants often reclaim barren land on their own. This method is cost-effective, requiring less labor and fewer resources than active restoration efforts. But it also takes time, and it isn't always suitable for all areas affected by desertification. In some cases, a combination of human intervention and natural regeneration works best. Regardless of the method, the goal remains the same: restoring the land to its natural state. One of the major challenges in combating desertification is financing restoration efforts. Large-scale restoration projects often require substantial investment, which many countries struggle to provide. This is where international collaboration becomes crucial, as desertification is a global problem. Private sector involvement is also essential for scaling up restoration initiatives. Companies that rely on land for agriculture, mining, or forestry can help finance restoration projects. By incorporating restoration into their business practices, companies can mitigate environmental damage. One example of this is corporate social responsibility, CSR initiatives, where companies invest in environmental efforts. These initiatives not only help restore land, but also improve a company's public image. But it's not just the private sector that plays a role in funding. Governments, too, must allocate funds for large-scale restoration projects, especially in vulnerable regions. One of the biggest funding initiatives comes from the Green Climate Fund, GCF. The GCF is an international fund that supports climate action projects, including land restoration. Through their grants, developing countries can finance projects that combat desertification. Another initiative, the Land Degradation Neutrality Fund, focuses specifically on land restoration. This fund works by providing loans and investments for projects that combat desertification. By mobilizing financial resources for restoration, we can create lasting change. But even with funding and resources, success depends on strong leadership and governance. Countries need to implement policies that support sustainable land management and restoration. The UNCCD provides a framework for governments to create effective policies that combat desertification. Their initiatives focus on increasing awareness, providing resources, and build. As we continue to address desertification, it's clear that the fight requires patience and persistence. The process of land restoration takes time, and results are not always immediately visible. However, the long-term benefits of restored land far outweigh the initial challenges. One key aspect of successful restoration is understanding the local environment and its needs. Restoration efforts must be tailored to each unique region, taking into account climate, soil, and vegetation. In some areas, restoring the land may mean focusing on reforestation and replanting trees. In others, the focus may need to shift toward improving soil health and water management. Regardless of the approach, the end goal remains the same: to create a sustainable, resilient environment. This is why monitoring and assessment are critical to land restoration success. Regularly evaluating the progress of restoration projects helps identify potential setbacks. It also ensures that efforts are adapted as needed to meet evolving challenges. One effective tool in monitoring is the use of remote sensing technologies. Drones, satellites, and sensors allow us to track land changes over time with precision. This data helps researchers and land managers make informed decisions about where to focus efforts. Using technology in restoration projects allows for more efficient use of resources. It also enables large-scale projects to be more effective in combating desertification. One such project, the Great Green Wall, is a massive reforestation effort spanning across Africa. The initiative aims to plant millions of trees to combat desertification and provide sustainable livelihoods. The Great Green Wall is not only an environmental project, but also a social one. It provides jobs, supports local economies, and helps combat climate change. Its success has inspired similar restoration efforts in other parts of the world. A similar initiative, the Mosaic of Hope, focuses on desertification prevention in Asia. This project aims to restore ecosystems and improve water management practices in arid regions. By restoring land in these regions, these projects are also helping local communities adapt to climate change. Climate adaptation strategies are crucial for communities in desertified areas as they face extreme weather events. Some strategies include building flood-resistant infrastructure, improving water storage, and diversifying crops. By integrating climate adaptation into land restoration efforts, communities become more resilient to climate change. However, it's important to remember that desertification is not just an environmental issue, it's a human issue. Many communities are directly impacted by desertification, facing food insecurity and poverty. Therefore, land restoration must also focus on social and economic factors. The integration of community development in restoration projects is essential for long-term success. In many regions, local populations are turning to sustainable livelihoods that help restore the land. For example, sustainable farming practices that reduce water consumption and improve soil health are gaining traction. In some areas, communities have shifted to agroforestry, combining agriculture with tree planting. This provides both food and fuel while restoring the land and preventing further desertification. By diversifying livelihoods, communities become less dependent on activities that harm the environment. This helps reduce the pressure on land and ensures that restoration efforts are sustainable. Another key to success is creating economic incentives for land restoration. Farmers and landowners must see the value in adopting sustainable practices. One way to achieve this is through payment for ecosystem services. PES programs pay landowners to adopt practices that protect and restore ecosystems. This can include reforestation, sustainable farming, or watershed management. These programs create a financial incentive for landowners to engage in restoration efforts. The United Nations has promoted PES programs as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Through such programs, landowners can receive compensation for maintaining healthy ecosystems. This approach not only benefits the land, but also boosts the local economy. It's clear that desertification is not a challenge that can be solved overnight. However, with the right policies, funding, and community involvement, change is possible. Restoration efforts need to be integrated into national development strategies. Governments must recognize the importance of land restoration in achieving long-term sustainability. Many countries have already made progress in creating national policies for combating desertification. For instance, China has invested billions of dollars into land restoration projects over the past few decades. As a result, large areas of previously degraded land have been successfully restored. China's Loess Plateau restoration is the fight against desertification is an urgent worldwide issue that cannot be ignored any longer. But as we've seen, there are numerous ways to restore degraded land and combat desertification. With each restoration effort, the environment becomes more resilient and ecosystems start to heal. However, to achieve lasting change, it's essential to build strong, community-based approaches. Local communities are key to the success of land restoration projects, as they understand their land's unique needs. Empowering these communities with the tools, knowledge, and resources they need is critical for long-term success. One important factor is educating farmers about sustainable practices that improve soil health. Training programs on water-efficient farming, conservation techniques, and agroecology can make a big difference. These programs help farmers transition from destructive practices to more sustainable and productive ones. They also equip local populations with the skills necessary to manage and restore land effectively. Partnerships with environmental organizations and research institutions can further support these efforts. Collaborative efforts between governments, NGOs, and local communities are the foundation of successful restoration projects. One notable example is the Ethiopian Sustainable Land Management Program. This program focuses on community-led initiatives to combat land degradation and increase agricultural productivity. By working together, local communities have rehabilitated thousands of hectares of land, improving food security. Another example comes from the Korean Greenbelt Project, which aimed to restore large portions of degraded land. This project involved planting millions of trees to create green corridors that prevent desertification. Over the years, the Greenbelt has transformed vast areas of barren land into thriving ecosystems. The success of such projects demonstrates that with the right resources and commitment, large-scale restoration is possible. Another critical aspect of desertification prevention is the role of indigenous knowledge. Many indigenous communities have a deep understanding of their local ecosystems and have lived sustainably for centuries. Incorporating this traditional knowledge into modern restoration projects can lead to more effective and culturally sensitive solutions. For example, in Australia, Aboriginal practices such as fire stick farming are being incorporated into land management. This controlled burning technique helps reduce the spread of bushfires, manage vegetation, and restore soil health. By combining traditional and modern techniques, we can create more holistic approaches to land restoration. Another vital element in desertification prevention is the role of climate change mitigation. Climate change is both a driver and a consequence of desertification, making it crucial to address both simultaneously. Land restoration efforts that sequester carbon and reduce greenhouse gas emissions can help combat climate change. By planting trees, restoring wetlands, and adopting sustainable farming practices, we can reduce the impact of desertification on global warming. Restoration projects also enhance biodiversity, which strengthens ecosystems and their ability to withstand extreme climate conditions. This creates a positive feedback loop where land restoration helps mitigate climate change and vice versa. In addition to restoring degraded land, reducing the carbon footprint of industries is equally important. Industries that contribute to deforestation, overgrazing, and land degradation must take responsibility for their actions. Sustainable practices, such as using certified timber, implementing regenerative agriculture, and reducing industrial waste, must become the norm. The involvement of the private sector in sustainable practices is crucial to creating a more sustainable future. Businesses and industries that rely on land resources should implement corporate social responsibility initiatives that promote restoration. Public-private partnerships can channel funds into land restoration efforts, making projects more scalable and impactful. For example, companies in the mining industry have invested in land rehabilitation to restore ecosystems damaged by their operations. It's essential that industries recognize the value of land restoration and work toward making it a priority. Globally, financial investment in desertification prevention is growing, but more needs to be done. Funds from international organizations, governments, and private investors can provide the necessary capital for large-scale restoration projects. The Global Environment Facility and the World Bank have committed millions of dollars to support land restoration worldwide. These funds support projects that combat desertification and promote sustainable land management practices. The United Nations Environment Program has also been a major supporter. The restoration of degraded land is not just an environmental issue, it is a global imperative. The fight against desertification impacts our future food security, water availability, and biodiversity. As we face the pressures of climate change and population growth, land restoration becomes even more urgent. The good news is that we are not powerless in the face of desertification. Through collaborative efforts, sustainable practices, and the power of innovation, we can restore what has been lost. At the heart of this restoration is the commitment to act now, before the situation worsens further. The first step in addressing desertification is awareness. As individuals, we must understand the consequences of land degradation and our role in mitigating it. From reducing water usage to supporting local reforestation projects, every action counts. Supporting policies that promote land restoration and sustainable development is another key avenue. Our collective efforts must focus on the long-term health of the planet because the cost of inaction is too high. The consequences of desertification extend beyond the environment to communities and economies. When land is restored, it provides more than just fertile soil. It offers livelihoods, stability, and hope. Communities that participate in restoration projects gain the tools to combat poverty and food insecurity. Restored lands also foster new opportunities for business, agriculture, and sustainable tourism. The resilience built through restoration projects extends far beyond the land itself. It strengthens entire societies. For instance, in the Sahel region of Africa, restoration projects have not only improved agricultural productivity, but also reduced conflicts over resources. This is because restored land supports greater food production, lessening competition for limited resources. By investing in land restoration, we create a more peaceful, prosperous future for everyone. But to be truly successful, we must embrace an integrated approach that combines technology, science, and community involvement. The future of land restoration relies on research and innovation to develop new techniques and methods. Scientists are already exploring innovative solutions, like using drones to plant trees or applying soil-enhancing microbes. These cutting-edge technologies can accelerate restoration processes and make them more efficient. However, technology alone isn't enough. Human involvement remains a vital component. Local communities, guided by traditional knowledge and modern techniques, are the stewards of restoration efforts. Ensuring that people have the right tools, education, and support will make all the difference. Across the world, there are growing movements of individuals and groups dedicated to combating desertification. These movements range from grassroots initiatives to large-scale government-led projects. But each of these efforts shares one common goal: to heal the land and create a sustainable future. The United Nations has called for land restoration efforts as part of its Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. SDG 15 specifically focuses on protecting, restoring, and promoting the sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. This goal emphasizes the importance of combating desertification, restoring degraded land, and ensuring that ecosystems remain resilient. Through initiatives like these, we can unify global efforts toward restoring our planet. Another important aspect of the fight against desertification is global financing. Governments, international organizations, and private investors must come together to fund large-scale restoration projects. the Green Climate Fund, and the Global Environment Facility are among the major sources of funding for such efforts. However, funding alone is not enough. These financial resources need to be used efficiently, with clear goals and measurable outcomes. It is essential that governments and stakeholders collaborate to ensure the transparency and accountability of projects. Collaboration both locally and globally is the key to ensuring that restoration efforts succeed. One powerful example of this is the Great Green Wall Project in Africa. This initiative aims to restore 100 million hectares of land across the Sahel region by 2030. The project brings together national governments, local communities, environmental organizations, and international donors. The Great Green Wall is not just about planting trees. It's about transforming landscapes, livelihoods, and societies. When successful, projects like the Great Green Wall will inspire others to follow suit, creating a global wave of restoration. But the fight against desertification isn't just about large-scale initiatives, it's about the daily actions of individuals. Supporting sustainable practices, raising awareness, and advocating for policy changes are actions we can all take. Whether it's planting a tree, conserving water, or educating others about